perform in his own plays. Okay, guys, so we our journal today is going to tie in with what we are going to work on. So the reason I asked you if you know about William Shakespeare and what do you know is because we are going to be working on a fun Shakespeare biography. So we're going to read a little bit about his life, kind of like a timeline of what happened. And then once we read that biography together and go over it, I would like for us to work on a Shakespeare timeline. Now, this timeline will connect with the biography, so you guys will be working in groups today, and we will be around to help you. I find the activity to be quite fun. I love a good timeline. So that's what we will be doing. And then after we complete that timeline, we're going to go over a quick Shakespeare quiz tying into the biography as well.
Nice.
Okay, so what I would like for us to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the Shakespeare biography. It's going to be under classwork, under Unit 3, Love and Feuds. So this is a new unit, so you will find it under Unit 3, Love and Feuds. When you have that Shakespeare biography open, can you please put a 1 in the chat box? So we're going over the background of Shakespeare because our next reading is going to be the lovely Romeo and Juliet. And we want to know the man behind the writing, right? And this will help us understand the text better. So I'm still waiting for some people to put 1 in the chat box once they have that Shakespeare biography opened up. And I just realized I did not make a copy for students yet again. So after we finish reading the biography, I'm going to post the copy so everyone can write in that timeline. Okay, so this is what I want to do. I would love if someone would volunteer to read the first 2 paragraphs. I think that would be just a lovely idea. So would anybody like to volunteer to read the first 2 paragraphs? I mean, you might get extra credit.
I'll read.
Okay, thank you.
I think that was tired. Shakespeare is renowned as an English playwright and poet whose body of works is considered the greatest in history of English literature. Surprisingly, for the world's greatest playwright, we actually know very little about Shakespeare's life. What few details we have come from church records, land titles, and the written opinion of others. Very little is known about young Shakespeare. We know that Shakespeare was baptized on April 26, 1564, and it is assumed that he was born on April 23, 1564. We also know that in 1582, at age 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, an older woman who was 26 at the time. Shakespeare left Stratford for London to make his fortune roughly 4 years later.
Okay, thank you, Ta. So, before we move on to the next section, what do we know about Shakespeare so far? So my question is, do we know a lot about Shakespeare? What few details do we have that lets us know about Shakespeare's past? So very little is known about Shakespeare's life. What details do we lean on to understand that a bit better? So what kind of records? Okay, so we know when he was baptized. We know who he married. Yes, he married Anne Hathaway. Thank you, jointly. What else? So take a look at the first paragraph. Surprisingly, for the world's greatest playwright, we actually know very little about Shakespeare's life. What few details we have come from... What details do we have? Yes, Reagan, thank you. So we have the church records, we have land titles, and we have the written opinion of others, okay? Very good. And like jointly mentioned, he was baptized on April 26, 1564. So we're not sure of his exact birthday, but it is assumed that he was born on April 23rd, so 3 days prior to that. And we know that he also married Anne Hathaway, who is not the actress Anne Hathaway, because that would be impossible. And she was older than him. He was 18, she was 26, okay? And then he eventually left Stratford to make his fortune 4 years after the marriage. All right, very nice. Would anybody else love to volunteer and read the next paragraph?